Hey Lloyd, okay, this is a precursor to hopefully what Granddad will have to offer with regard to his gin basket solution. Let's run through this real quick. So it's pretty basic. Okay, so there's a pot here. It's got a bottom, no top. That's the connection point to the keg. But that's a threaded fitting, but it's not that big of a deal because that can be a 4-inch TC pipe segment attached to the keg, or to the boiler I should say, with a 4-inch or not, or a 2 or what have you, and it's nothing more than a through pipe at the bottom of the pot. So it's very easy to get a good sanitary style weld on the bottom end of this pot. And furthermore, there's a sanitary or a reasonably sanitary weld inside, so it's just a through pipe that extends through the bottom of the pot. Similarly, we've got this short reducer here. Okay, now if you can imagine this short reducer as the bottom of the pot, and of course this isn't the right size. Let's try this one. And this coming through as the riser from the bottom of the pot, and then here's the best part in my opinion in terms of construction. Okay, so this thing here is heavy enough. I'm gonna say that's about 8 inches long or so. I don't have the tape on me. A couple of holes in the bottom, so this just rests, right inside there, and there's no construction. There's nothing. It's just a piece of tubing with a cap welded on it, a piece of square tubing. So similarly, we can see that we can do the same. Here's the bottom of the pot, and we'll use that as a reducer. Here's the tube, and then if we have another piece, a heavier piece, that will just sit on top as the bubble cap. So we'll have a cap here, this will be cut to length or whatever, cap on the top, holes in the bottom, and it just rests. That's it. There's no fabrication there. It's just a cap that rests right on top, So having said that, if this represents the bottom, then we have a TC segment here. There it is. Okay, I mean that's it, you know what I'm saying? And then another top, like our short reducer, that rests right there, and then the discharge out. So it's nothing more than just a big old single bubble cap, but there's no construction as such other than the through pipe through this. So now the entire thing can be pulled apart and cleaned, because what'll happen is which is what I've noticed, is when you run your orange, like for instance when I run my orange, when I load this Thumper with orange, and then I run it again the next time, even though this is stainless, a lot of that orange quality stays there for the next run, which is fine if I'm doing multiple batches of orange. But if you're going to be changing botanicals, you're going to have to douche the thing, and get it cleaned up again, so that you're not going to contaminate your next run with whatever it is that the next batch happens to be. So this setup, scaled up, works well because you can pull the whole thing apart, you can scrub it all clean, And so then the only other thing to consider is, and I don't know how much it needs to be considered, but I've got my overflow here. Excuse me. Got the overflow drain here that drains back down into my boiler. This is the inline, Thumper here. This pot is capable of holding like 7 quarts of liquid, so maybe we need to have a little more latitude, a little more ability to hold liquid. I don't know, but it's a decent solution. And what Granddad's done is he's basically replicated this thing here, and this can be set off to the side. It doesn't, you could come in through the bottom of that with our fittings. Well, I'm out of. I sold all the 90s. Do I have one? Oh, here's one. So you can still come into the bottom of this thing with the 90. If you wanted to set this thing up on a shelf, come into the bottom, over from the top of the column, over here or whatever. and it'll work, you know, and it's very, very simple. There's not much construction. The thing is choosing the right, you know, the right vessel for the botanicals. Now, the thing about Granddad's is, Granddad apparently, and I'm not sure how his screen rests. I think what he did was he tacked some tabs, and his screen is like, looks like a big giant perf plate almost, and he just piles his botanicals on top. And what he's been doing is he's been loading the top of his screen with corn, and he's been running his liquor across the top of his spent grains even, and he's been getting some nice flavors, some nice corn liquor coming across, pretty smooth. So the thing is just to size everything accordingly so that you can get a decent amount of botanicals on the top, because I watched some of those videos on YouTube about those guys doing essential oil extraction, and they're really, really packing a lot of material in there. So perhaps this vessel is not necessarily the best choice, but the point is that as the run progresses, this thing will hold quite a bit of liquid. So by the time you finish your run, I mean, hopefully there won't be so much liquid buildup that it'll start to, you know, get swamped, and then you won't have to worry about the return drain, although I suspect you can put a return drain on it, but that's just going to add more complication to the build. But so anyway, I just wanted you to see this. It's such a basic setup. I mean, it's nothing more than a single bubble cap set up exactly like an airlock, you know. Very accessible to weld. And that's it. It's simple, it's basic. So, and then of course in my case, I don't have tri-clamps. I just have a lid, and the tabs correspond with the tabs at the bottom, and then I thread a piece of threaded rod through here with some thumb screws. But the tri-clamp solution solves all that. Now, of course, this is a 10-inch diameter stock pot, so that's going to be a big old tri-clamp, but you know, maybe it's worth it on the commercial side to have that accessibility. And then of course, you know, you'll have no paste seals, etc., etc. So, all right, we'll wait for Granddad to come over and post what he's got. I think it's pretty basic, pretty simple, and the good news is it's not going to require a ton of work, because there's nothing more than this. You know, it's two of these, one of those, and of course a through pipe running right through that, maybe to about there, and then a cap that sets on top. Okay? All right. See ya.